Coming up tonight on the Weekend Edition, police reporting a partially decomposed body discovered in the Tynes Beach area of Grand Bahama. This is a developing story. Plus, on the subject of marital rape, Press Secretary Clint Watson asks advocacy groups, where are your voices? Those groups plan on firing back. And do you know who the Brave 11 are? Well, we'll tell you why they're the focus of this year's Remembrance Day and Poppy season. This is Our News Weekend Edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Megan Shepard. Police on Grand Bahama are currently investigating the circumstances surrounding the discovery of a partially decomposed body. Shortly after 3 p.m. this afternoon, police alerted media of the active scene in the area of Tynes Beach. Now, our news team on Grand Bahama was on that scene, and we have the details on the Our News Bahamas Facebook page and the ournews.bs website. Students on Abaco and Grand Bahama have returned to in-person learning. However, there are still some issues that need to be addressed to allow students and teachers to flourish. The new Director of Education, Dominique McCartney-Russell, addressing the teacher shortage on Abaco.
We've had a number of issues in Abaco related to staff shortage. And I've felt so supported by this administration. We were able to put 30 teachers in Abaco. We do still have a shortage, but what we've done is we have put those, the shortages, we have them in the virtual school, but we are agitating for teachers, those remaining teachers who are awaiting their geographical funds. We are waiting them to be posted to Abaco.
Students in Abaco and Grand Bahama have been challenged in recent years due to Hurricane Dorian, coupled with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Russell says learning loss continues to be an issue.
Our children, some of them have been out of school for 3 years, as was said, and we want to ensure that their recovery is accelerated. And we're also concerned, like the minister spoke about, school violence. We're looking at restorative practices, programs such as clubs and youth organizations, those things that allow our children to collaborate, that allow our children to connect with one another, and perhaps be able to resolve conflicts a little bit better. They've been out of school, and so we want to make sure that they're able now to socialize even as they learn.
Talks of criminalizing marital rape resurfaced this past week after a new study from the University of the Bahamas showed that 1 in 12 married women had suffered some form of sexual assault at the hands of their spouse. The study leaving many to question whether or not the government will introduce any legislation to criminalize marital rape. Well, Press Secretary Clint Watson says there are laws presently on the books that address rape. However, he says when it comes to the marital rape discussion, advocacy groups must speak up. His comments coming during the weekly press briefing.
A lot of the groups are quiet. A lot of the activist groups and the groups that protect women, where are your voices? This is now when it's time to come forward and to express your concern and your view and to advocate, to present proposals of legislation, to do it. But there has been review, and there will continue to be review because we want to make sure that people are protected and our laws are modern in 2022. But we function in tandem with the people who advocate for certain things. So it's not the government sitting back. The government moves based on there being advocacy for certain things, even while we address certain things on the legislative agenda.
This causing quite a stir with women advocacy groups as they feel they have been very vocal on the issue of marital rape. We have an eye on this as sources say there is to be a reaction to these comments as early as this week. Tourism arrivals nearing pre-pandemic numbers, according to Deputy Prime Minister and Minister responsible, Chester Cooper. Cooper telling reporters this week recent numbers revealing arrivals were only 10% short.
We are approaching 2019 levels. Up to the end of July, we were less than 10% off where we were in 2019. 2019 was a banner year. And we expect by the end of this year, we will be very close to the 7.2 million we achieved in 2019, or we will exceed it.
Cooper says advanced bookings reveal tourism arrivals for 2023 will exceed 2019 numbers. It's welcomed news as the country's economy continues to bounce back post-COVID-19, which brought the global tourism market to its knees. Cooper says it took a lot of work.
We've worked very hard. We've been very deliberate in terms of increasing airlift to all of our destinations. We've been carrying the message around the world that we are open for business. The message is being received. We've been working in harmony with all of our stakeholders, all of the hotels and the airline partners and the promotion board to ensure that that message get out to the marketplace. And the responses have been overwhelming.
A man who was on bail and being electronically monitored is dead after his attempt to rob a woman turned deadly Saturday night. According to Assistant Commissioner of Police Kenwood Taylor, a woman was getting out of her car at her Elizabeth Estates home when she was approached by the lone gunman.
Sometime around 8:30 this evening, a female had pulled into a driveway. She was accosted by a lone gunman who requested the keys for her vehicle. She screamed, a family member came out, a struggle ensued between the family member and the suspect, which resulted in the suspect being fatally shot. The suspect is known to the police. He's currently wearing an electronic monitor.
Taylor says the suspect was out on bail for murder and armed robbery. He says there were no indications that the two knew each other, adding the suspect was shot in the upper body. Taylor says police are working to ensure patrols are conducted.
Well, I can tell you right now, we have saturation patrols going on. Right now, we have static checks. All of my commanders are out and about, ensuring that visibility is there. And so we are doing and making every effort to ensure that patrols are conducted, particularly in these neighborhoods where people are on the way home and doing shopping.
Coming up after the break, the focus of this year's Remembrance Day and Poppy season is the Bahamas' female platoon, known as the Brave 11. And food security is a very important thing. See how groups partner to assist those in need. That's coming up when our News Weekend Edition returns. Jessica Russell, a mental health counselor at the Family Medical Center in Grand Bahama, has some tips for parents on the fence about taking their struggling child to a therapist.
I have noticed the stigma lessening a bit for the individual, but I think it's difficult for parents, I think, to get to that point where, you know, my child needs somebody who isn't me. And I think what might help is if you take them to their pediatrician, which is somebody who, you know, is qualified and trained in things that you are not, and that's okay. So if you maybe think of it that way.
Russell adds that sometimes children may withhold some of their difficulties from their parents in an effort to not overburden them.
As people, we want to present the best version of ourselves to the people closest to us. So it is very hard for a child to tell a parent, I'm struggling with this, because they are worried that the feeling the parent might have is I'm failing, or they don't want to add additional stress, because as much as parents might try to hide it, kids are aware when you're stressed out. They often don't want to add to that. There's a feeling of adding additional stress, which will often stop them from sharing with parents. So if you just take away that feeling of having to be everything for your child or this other person and being okay with somebody else supporting them, it's okay.
The fight against food insecurity continuing to gain momentum as organizations partner to assist those in need. This week, while speaking at a backyard farming kit distribution, Executive Director of Hands for Hunger, Keisha Ellis, shares what her organization has discovered regarding the needs in the country.
The good news is that food insecurity hasn't greatly increased over the past few years. The bad news is that it was always high. Right? So we're still at about 20%, just as Mr. Smith said, of people who live with us, our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues, who are seriously worried about if they're going to have enough food to feed themselves and their families. In addition to that, we found that there are 1 in 3 Bahamians who may not worry about having enough food per se, but are actually worried about the quality of food that they're able to eat, the amount of fruits and vegetables.
Ellis says she is optimistic about a solution.
I find that right now in the Bahamas, we are truly at the cusp of a renaissance. I know this because I work with the organizations that are dedicated to making sure that there's a shift in the way we think about food in this country, the way we consume food in this country, and the kinds of food that we want to eat in this country. And I know that this shift is on the way because I see it in our clients.
She says the wider public may have preconceived notions about those that are in need of assistance. However, she's looking to dispel those assumptions.
And what I see in these people's eyes are hope, dedication, hard work. Some of us who are outside of it have an image of hungry people as perhaps not well clothed, not well educated, perhaps not motivated to work, but I can assure you that that is not the case. The majority of people who are suffering from food insecurity in this country are people that wake up every morning and go to work, right? Some of them work 2 jobs, 3 jobs.
Ellis adding that she is hopeful that food insecurity can be tackled sooner rather than later, simply by using our God-given resources.
There is certainly enough sunshine, there's enough soil, there's enough ocean in this country for all of us to be extremely well-fed and healthy. And I see us now at the cusp of a movement where all of us are dedicated and motivated to reap the benefits of this God-given earth that we have.
When we come back from the break, the need for greater public education about animal laws is real. The education is straight ahead. And India Davis is setting sail on her journey to capturing the Miss International World title. Her story is coming up on the other side of the break. Well, the need for dog licenses resurfacing after a man was killed by a dog attack in recent weeks. The unfortunate incident also bringing to light the need for greater public education about animal laws. Tonight, the minister responsible for agriculture and marine resources tells our Jamila Mizik that there are plans underway to make applying for a dog license much easier.
All dogs in the Bahamas 3 months and over should have a dog license. That according to Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources Clay Sweeting. Currently, residents are required to visit the Department of Agriculture to apply for a dog license. However, he says a new way to apply is in the works.
We are currently working on digitizing the ministry where persons will be able to apply online, upload and then collect their license for their dog. So we're working with that. We're also working with the Royal Bahamas Police Force, who's helping to expand this initiative, especially through communities where we're seeing some issues as of late in regards to animal protection and animal cruelty.
Last month, a dog attack resulted in the death of a 61-year-old man. Since then, the minister says his ministry has been focused on providing greater public education regarding the country's animal laws.
The animal laws are on the books. I think a lot of it is education. So the Royal Bahamas Police Force has worked along with the ministry. The Royal Bahamas Police Force has recently released a video that speaks to the fines and the charges in regards to animal cruelty, animals that are not licensed, animals that are not caged, animals that can provide or be harm to persons throughout the community. So, we're just reinforcing the legislation and also educating persons on what the laws are.
Sweeting also recently meeting with the Animal Control Protection Board. He says in recent years the previous board has not been functioning. However, this board is taking a new approach.
This board is excited about bringing change and being involved in animal cruelty, animal rights, and really just being a force to reckon with in this subsector of the ministry. So we met with them. We had a lengthy discussion speaking on initiatives that they're suggesting that they feel could help to strengthen this part of the ministry, and we'll continue to work along with them and see how we can best adjust to engage persons throughout the community who are not aware.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Missick.
Thanks, Jamila. 20-year-old India Davis is setting sail on her journey to capturing the Miss International World title. The reigning Miss International World Bahamas competed in her first ever pageant this past July, capturing first runner-up at the Miss Bahamas Universe pageant. And now she's currently participating in her second pageant, this time at sea.
It was kind of hard, like doing it for my first time. I put on my first pair of heels a few months ago as well. So I think I did pretty well for my first try.
Her platform, Motion for Change.
It's about instilling good qualities and good habits in kids to prevent chronic diseases. I believe that prevention is better than cure, and in some cases, maybe most cases, how you take care of yourself can prevent you from getting those diseases.
She says she's excited about her journey thus far and for what's to come in the future. Despite being a novice in the pageant world, Davis says she's feeling pretty excited and confident.
I believe I'm the first Bahamian to be competing in that pageant, so I'm very grateful for that. So I plan to do very well. I work well under pressure, I think. So that's about it. I don't really know much about the system since it's my first time, but I'm looking forward to see what happens next. But they gave me the opportunity to walk in New York Fashion Week as a model, and I also had a billboard in New York as well. So it's been great so far, and they have a few more things planned for me. They haven't told me what it is yet, but I'm excited for that as well.
Now the 3-day pageant will take place on board the Margaritaville at sea.
I plan to bring the crown home because I'm in it to win it, always. But I think it's a good opportunity for me to meet more people from around the world, to learn about their cultures, their experiences.
Now we wish India the best of luck as the competition is currently underway. Just on the other side of the break, we're going to take a look at weather over the next week. And the focus of this year's Remembrance Day and Poppy season is the Bahamas' female platoon, known as the Brave 11. The details on the way when our News Weekend Edition returns. Hot and sunny today with balmy breezes. Let's take a look at the weather forecast for this upcoming week. When we spoke to British Legion Chairman Adina Monroe-Charlo, she told us the focus of this year's Remembrance and Poppy season would be the Bahamas' female platoon, known as the Brave 11. Marlena Leonard sat down with their daughters of Ruth Clark Goodrich, one of the Brave 11 who wrote a book about her platoon's experience. Here's that story.
Ruth Clark Goodrich's life is the story of a teacher turned trailblazer. She's one of 11 Bahamian women who joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service during World War II and shipped off to Jamaica to serve. Her daughters Janice Major and Barbara Chong sat down with us to tell us their mother's story.
She decided, she along with another 10 ladies, that they would like to go. 3 of them went in, was it 1943? And Mom and the other 8 ladies joined in 1944. They were deployed then. Yeah, so I remember the Newcastle in Kingston, Jamaica. I went there when I went to Jamaica, and that is where they were stationed.
Later in life, Clark Goodrich decided to write a book on their experiences, where she paints a detailed picture of life in the Caribbean in World War II, as well as the rigid military training and aspects of their service.
So around 1995, Mommy decided to write a book. Her first book, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. She completed it by 97, and it was published in 1998, called The Brave 11. Her experience as an ATS in Jamaica, and her memories are what inspired her to write the book, and her kids. We always told her she should write.
And her daughters say the women's bonds remained strong years after they returned home. The book was even presented to the British High Commissioner this week, and the sisters hope it can be incorporated into Bahamian education, saying there's much to learn from its pages.
They can learn what it is to serve, service, self-worth, being proud of who you are, represent your family and your country to the best of your ability. Right now, we have young people looking overseas for their idols. We have heroes and heroines right here in the Bahamas. It is time for us to take note, take stock, and appreciate what we have.
The Brave 11 is available for purchase at Major's store, Floral Fantasia on Mount Royal Avenue. Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Thanks, Marlena. Now, here are some scenes from this year's Bahamas National Baptist and Educational Convention Day Parade. Definitely a good time and vibrant colors indeed. And we thank you so much for joining us for Our News Weekend Edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepherd. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend.